started here. All right. Well, welcome. This is a Terp Family Fundamentals webinar series. So my name is Meredith Carpenter, and I use she, her pronouns. I'm an associate director with the Department of Resident Life, and I work closely with our housing assignments and communication areas. For those of you who joined us for the first time, this series is hosted by the Office of Family Engagement, and it's designed to help family members and supporters become informed consultants on campus resources, so you can confidently support your Terps throughout their Maryland experience. The special edition also welcomes our students, and we're excited to have both Terps and their families tuning in today. I'm pleased to be joined by others from the Resident Life team who will talk with us through how you and your move-in dream team can prepare for your move-in day and what you can expect when you arrive as part of the Maryland residential experience. Before we get started, we've got a few housekeeping notes for you. So if you have questions during the webinar, please submit them using the Q&A feature in your Zoom toolbar. If you don't see the Q&A icon, click the three dots to expand your menu options. To help us address questions that are most important to you, please use the upvote feature. If you see a question you'd also like answered, select that thumbs up icon instead of typing a duplicate question, and we'll prioritize those questions with the most upvotes. You can also look in the Answered tab within the Q&A feature, as some responses may be provided there throughout the session. We'll do our best to respond to as many questions as time allows. And finally, today's webinar is being recorded and will be available on the Terp Family YouTube channel in the near future. You can find the direct link to the Terp Family channel in your confirmation or reminder email, and Terp residents will also receive an email directly from the Resident Life with a link to the video, along with lots of other information to help make your move-in a success. And with that, I'll turn it over to my colleagues to begin the presentation.
Thank you so much, Meredith, and thank you everyone who has logged in and joined us this evening for our final Maryland Living 101 webinar, completely focused on Mastering Move-In Day. Before we get deep into all the things that we really want you to know to best prepare you for that special day, we'll take a little look at who is going to be presenting this information for you all. Firstly, my name is Jasmine Pelez, and I am the Communications and Outreach Manager in the Department of Resident Life. I am joined by an incredible panel of colleagues and really experts in all things residence life, and particularly in those folks who oversee our residential communities and have a really, really great understanding of the program that Terps will have once they come on campus to live with us. And just a little fun fact about me, I am an alumna of the university, so shout out to any Terps out there that are interested in majoring in journalism. And with that, I will turn it over to Kia Wheating to begin our introductions. Kia?
Thank you, Jasmine. Welcome, everyone. My name is Kia Wheaton. I use she, her pronouns, and I am assistant to the director. I co-chair with Aaron all of our opening coordination logistics with a wonderful, wonderful team. Fun fact about me, I was my high school's prom queen back in the day. Aaron, you're next.
That's tough to follow. Hey, everyone. Good evening. My name is Erin Schlegel. I use she, her pronouns. I'm one of the assistant directors within the Department of Resident Life. And like Kia said, co-chair our opening coordination committee. And my fun fact is that I absolutely love the Big Show, which is part of our fall welcome program. And I'm really looking forward to that. All right, I'm going to kick it over to my colleague, Dan.
Hello, Terps and Terp families. I'm Dan Harefield, he, him pronouns. I'm the program manager for residential and community engagement. And my fun fact, besides also being a Terp alum, I play 3 instruments and I love baking.
I just love baking. Thank you all. I am now excited to introduce to you Dennis Passarella-George, the Director of Resident Life, to give you all a very, very warm welcome. Dennis?
Jasmine, thank you so much. Good evening, everyone. So my name is Dennis Passarella-George. I use he, him pronouns, and I serve as the director for the Department of Resident Life. So as director and as a proud Maryland alum myself, let me first say thank you for giving us your time this evening to be here with us and learn about Move-In Day. I also want to say welcome to all of you. Welcome to our Terrapin community. Welcome to the Residence Hall family at the University of Maryland, and welcome to the Maryland residential experience. Let me tell you a little bit about what's been going on campus. So throughout the summer, our teams within Resident Life, residential facilities, and across the Division of Student Affairs have been hard at work preparing all summer for our new students to arrive and for our returning students to come back to campus in just a few weeks. Across our campus, we can't wait for you to get here. We're excited for the semester to begin, and we're excited to welcome our newest Terps to campus. Now, tonight's got a focus. So tonight, our team is going to share lots of information. We're going to talk about room assignment details, roommate safety in the residence halls, and in particular, how to prepare for the best move-in day possible. So I hope that you enjoyed tonight's presentation, take in lots of good information, and know that we'll be there with you the entire way. Let me tell you one other thing. Move-in day on our campus is incredibly exciting. We know that for all of you, this is going to be likely a once in a lifetime experience, and it's going to come with lots of emotion, right? There's also lots that's going to be happening. So while tonight we're going to talk about all the logistics, we're going to prep you to get in, get out, get prepped, keep the traffic moving. We'll talk about all of those things. I also want to encourage you to take the time after you've moved your car to long-term parking, right? Soak every moment of the experience in, right? Move in and the start of the semester, in particular for our newest Terps and their families, comes with lots of emotions. So just prepare yourselves, have lots of fun, bring your patience, bring a lot of grace for you and those around you, and take the opportunity to enjoy every single moment of it. Know that our teams in resident life, residential facilities, and across our campus are ready. We can't wait to welcome you. And one of the things that we know about our experience in the residence halls is residence halls aren't just a place to live, right? They're a place that we know you're going to learn, connect, engage, and you're going to have this team and all the people that I'm proud to work with here to support you. Thanks again for being here tonight, and I hope you really enjoy the information that the team has prepared. Have a great day and go Terps.
Thanks so much, Dennis. We appreciate that. And as Dennis said, we're going to get right into it. Here is a look at the topics that we're really going to dive in today. As Dennis said, to make sure that you all are as prepared as possible to nail move-in day. Firstly, we'll talk a little bit about your room assignment, right? What are the considerations that go into room assignments for our newest Terps? And of course, what you can expect once you open the door and enter your room for the first time. We're also going to talk about a really important topic, how you can begin to connect with your roommate, with your floor mates, with other Terps that live in the residence halls. So we have some great tips on how to begin making connections. And also we're going to really hit on safety in the residence halls, right? What does that look like? How can you participate in safety as well in the residence halls for yourself and for the others who live around you? And then we'll get to a really exciting topic, which is fall move-in, right? We're going to go step by step on how to successfully make your move to campus, and then also some things that you can really look forward to as we celebrate the arrival of students and really kick off the academic year. And then at the end, we will take questions and go through some questions maybe that were frequently asked, just to make sure that those are really shared with you all so that you have the right information. And we can also answer some other questions that haven't yet been responded to. So with that, we will begin, and I will hand it over to Kia.
Thank you, Jasmine. So, as you prepare for moving, it's very important to know where to move into. So, let's get into a little bit about room assignments. Room assignment information has been released, and that information included students' housing details that identified the hall, room, and room type, roommate information, and how to contact them. And it also included specific move-in arrival window information and arrival instructions. Students can view all of this information by going to their housing portal. Both the how and where to log in is noted on this slide. Additionally, if a student has been approved for an early arrival, which happens before our main move-in on August 27th, that updated information can also be found in the housing portal. As a refresher, our staff look at a variety of factors for room placement and roommate matching, including medical housing accommodations, living learning program participation, roommate requests, and living style preferences. Our Res Life team assigned more than 6,000 new Terps after receiving a tremendous amount of on-campus housing interest from the incoming class. To accommodate all first-year students, we place them across all of our communities, halls, and housing options. This is not uncommon and has happened in previous years as well. Unique to this year is that the number of first year students has increased, which also means more first years and even more opportunities to connect with fellow new Terps in all of our residential communities. Our assignments team is always here to help. So if your student has any questions, please encourage them to reach out to that office. So after talking about a little bit about our room assignments, let's talk about what you'll find in your room. Each room has a standard furniture package for each student. That package is a desk chair, dresser, bed, mattress, and closet space. For more specifications regarding room furniture, we encourage you to check out our Before Move-In web page. All residence hall students also have wired and wireless internet capabilities and have free access to Xfinity Stream. We have more examples of our various room types on our website, which includes several resources to get a sense of the different styles of rooms and amenities of each of our buildings and communities. We have virtual layouts and 360 tours that give you a visual look at all of the types of rooms that we have in our inventory. The houses on Fraternity Row are also in some of our houses on Fraternity Row are in our Res Hall lineup. And we don't currently have virtual tours available for those. However, our team is working on sharing photos of those houses very soon. In the meantime, you are welcome to check out each house's floor plan on the house's webpage. If there is no 360 tour for your specific building, there's often a comparable 360 tour of a room within that community. Additionally, while our 360 tours can be a tool to help you plan for your space, we also encourage you to plan for flexibility when you arrive and get a real-time feel for how to set up the shared space. All right, so we've talked a bit about room assignments and what you'll find in your room. Let's talk about a little bit of what's in our halls in general. Students have access to laundry facilities that vary by location depending on your residence halls. Laundry facilities may be located directly in the floors of our newer buildings. It may be in the basement of a building, and then another, it could be in a nearby residence hall. Lounge and study spaces are great places for residents to meet other on-campus Terps and stay on top of their academics. A majority of our traditional residence halls offer these spaces, including the houses on Fraternity Row. Our service desks are available to students 24/7 and are available to help in a variety of ways, including picking up mail and packages, getting a spare key or swipe card if and when needed, and our community assistants help students get connected to campus resources. They are also here if you need help getting connected with our on-call staff who are available every night and throughout the weekends. Our community assistants can also then get folks connected to maintenance staff if they need as well. Keeping hydrated is a key reminder when we discuss more move-in details a little bit later. But for now, know that there's water refill stations available in many of our residence halls. All right, so knowing the room assignment, having a sense of the layout is good. Natural next step is to think about how to make it feel like your space. We encourage personalizing your space, but also want to remind you of a few things to keep in mind when moving into our residence halls to create that home away from home feel. Since the room is a shared space, it'll be important to not only think about what it means to share a space with another person, but we also encourage some discussion with your roommate about what each of you plan to bring and what you can coordinate and collaborate on. This includes thinking about what you actually need to bring as opposed to bringing everything you own. So, for example, perhaps it might be good to leave some of those warmer weather clothes right now and perhaps bring those types of clothes during family weekend later in the fall or even after Thanksgiving. So, as you settle in, the room will initially be in a standard layout. The furniture can be rearranged but cannot be removed. You can move the furniture as needed, but please make sure to avoid blocking the air control systems like heat, air conditioning, and dehumidification. Other pro tips for personalization include blue painter's tape and poster putty. We highly recommend this for hanging posters and pictures. Blue painter's tape is also preferred for affixing LED lights to help minimize wall damage. Speaking of, we suggest avoiding decorative vinyl decals. While promoted as easy to remove, they have caused significant damage to walls, floors, and furniture, which have resulted sometimes in some significant room damage charges. For more pro tips, check out our email from earlier this week, which outlines things to keep in mind while organizing furniture in your room. We ask that you do not ship any items before your student moves in. Please plan for any packages or deliveries to be shipped to campus after you have arrived and have checked into your residence hall room. Shipping items early could cause a delay in your ability to be for could cause a delay in their ability to be sorted and available to you once you arrive. And again, as a reminder, while you plan to personalize your space, you can check out our 360 virtual tours for a similar room to get a feel of the space and prepare those still to be flexible once you arrive so that you can see it in person. The website you see highlighted on this slide has a helpful list of items to bring and not to bring, including items related to fire and electrical safety, like e-scooters. You can also find these helpful tips in our printed Maryland Living 101 guide shared with you during orientation. If you don't have one on hand, here's a link to the digital copy. I'm now going to pass it on to Erin, who's going to talk about building connections.
Awesome. Thanks, Kia. Hi, everyone. All right. So for many students, having a roommate is a very new experience. So we highly encourage our Terps to reach out to their roommates before move-in day to start that relationship. Even if your Terp met their roommate during orientation, or they know them from high school or childhood, they have likely never shared a space with that person, and that will be an adjustment for them. So the best piece of advice that we can give for our Terps is that the best way to have a good roommate is to be a good roommate. So these relationships are reciprocal, and not everyone has experience sharing a space with another person. This is new for everyone. And so the importance of communication truly cannot be overstated. So we want each student to invest in the roommate relationship in order to make it work. So students should go into the roommate relationship with an open mind and a willingness to compromise and talk out their interests and concerns with one another. We have many stories of wonderful roommates who did not know each other at all going into the relationship, but became best friends. And that's typically because they exhibited care and connection and a willingness to compromise and truly get to know the other person. And we provide a number of opportunities to build on that relationship once residents arrive. So that first moment that they arrive on campus and that first night. So examples of that include the meet and greets that the resident assistants will host, the many fall welcome activities that the RAs will be encouraging and escorting residents to. And as soon as fall welcome is over, we begin our Find Your Squad program with many ongoing friend-finding focused events. And our RAs will also be encouraging the completion of our community living agreements, which help roommates discuss some of the important living elements and preferences that can help foster a more comfortable living arrangement. And please always know that our staff are here to help. So if any problems or disagreements ever arise, students should know that their RA is a resource who can help mediate and resolve conflicts if the students are unable to find resolution themselves. All right, so let's talk about safety in the residence halls. So we provide many things to keep our Terps secure. And some of those things include our secure entrances and our 24/7 service desks and our on-call staff that can help round out anytime access to our team. And our 24/7 service desks are located in your building or within your community in a nearby residence hall. And specifically for our students in houses on the row, they can find their 24/7 service desk located in the Leonardtown Community Center. And safety is truly a shared responsibility. All right, so that means that safety requires a commitment from all members of our community. And so we expect that students lock their doors and carry their key and swipe with them, that they're mindful of their influence in creating a respectful community, both in how they interact with others and how they treat the facilities where they live. And students are responsible for the whereabouts and actions of their guests and visitors. Our rules and community expectations apply to all who enter our residence halls. And students should know that if they see something out of the norm, they should tell someone. They can give the information to one of our community assistants who work at our 24/7 service desks, or to an RA to follow up and provide the necessary support. You can always, always, always turn to your 24/7 service desk to reach out to a staff member. That can always be your first step because there is always someone there to help. All right, so Jasmine, I'm going to turn it over to you.
Thanks so much, Erin. And students can also really support the health of our community. And I really want to plug a reminder for students not to forget to verify your immunizations. As a reminder, each new student has received email notifications on behalf of the University Health Center. And this included a reminder regarding our university immunization policy, which really requires all new students to submit proof of required immunizations before arriving to campus for the fall 2026 semester. And this requirement is really in an effort to help keep our community healthy and to prevent the spread of vaccine preventable diseases. So what you can do now is, if you haven't already completed this, is to follow these three steps to successfully submit your immunization record form. You can find a full list of required vaccines and access to the immunization frequently asked questions by visiting the University Health Center at health.umd.edu. You can also contact them by phone. The number is provided here on this webpage, and also by email at the email provided here. And in partnership with the University Health Center, we're going to share a poll to hopefully get a pulse of where you are in the process. So you should be seeing in just a second a poll pop up, and we'd love to just hear from you and get a sense again of where you're at with the process. Is this something that you've already completed? Is it something that you're planning to do? You might also be in the process, working on it, working with your healthcare provider to get the necessary information, or perhaps you haven't started yet. So please just take a moment to take a look at that poll.
Jasmine, I'm going to leave it up for just a moment. People are still responding.
Sure. We appreciate it.
Yeah. They're still coming in, so I'm giving them a few more moments.
Sure, please do. And I think we might be getting some questions in the Q&A about that. And I'll just quickly just share that any questions that you have, the Health Center is really your best resource. They have all the information that you need to make sure that this is completed correctly.
Great. And I'm going to close it now. Thanks, Jasmine.
Awesome. So I'm really happy to see that a majority of folks say that, yes, they are all done with this. A couple of folks did share that they haven't started yet. So perhaps you have questions or not quite sure how to start. So again, I really just encourage you to check out the University Health Center either by email, by phone, or by visiting their website. Their website has a ton of great information to share with new students. So with that, we're going to continue moving on. And like I said, this is an incredibly important process, and we certainly don't want it to bog down your move-in day. And speaking of move-in day, we're going to share some more information on that, which I know is something that you guys are all probably eager to learn more about. So I will turn it over to Erin.
All right, so I will explain our steps to move in process, but before I do that, we have a video that really beautifully captures what the move in experience is like and what you can expect.
Hey Terp, we at Resident Life are so excited to welcome you and your family and support squad to the University of Maryland campus soon for Move-In Day. And here's your guide to making Move-In Day a success in 3 steps. Before we jump in, form your support squad, the team that will be with you on Move-In Day. We recommend at least 3 people, the driver of your vehicle, another person to help unload your belongings, and of course, you, our newest Terp. Moving in is as easy as 1, 2, 3. Step 1. Review your arrival passport available on the housing portal for directions to your residence hall. While on campus, be sure to follow directional signs and instructions given by university police and parking attendants. And remember, these routes are designed to reduce traffic and speed up your move-in day process. It'll be busy, so we thank you for your patience in advance. Now when you reach your residence hall, it's time to act swiftly, like you're at the airport. Once a spot becomes available in the unloading zone closest to your residence hall, temporarily park and quickly unload belongings onto the curb. This should take about 10 minutes to complete. Remember, we'll be welcoming a ton of Terps and unloading zone spaces are limited. And don't forget, just like at the airport, the driver must stay with the vehicle at all times. This is where your support squad is a major help. One person should stay with unloaded belongings on the curb while the driver heads to long-term parking following the directions provided in the arrival passport. And just like that, we're on to step 2. While belongings are being unloaded, students will head to their service desk to check in and get their room key. Take a look around you and you'll see our Res Life staff excited to welcome you and here to answer any arrival questions. Now it's time for step 3. Students should return to the curb and move their belongings into their room. This is now your time to unpack and get settled into your new space. Remember to take your move-in trash and recycling out to the marked exterior bins. For more information, check out the Resident Life website. We can't wait to see you in August and welcome you to the Maryland residential experience. Go Terps!
You're muted, Erin. We'll just give Erin a minute here.
Sorry about that, everyone. All right, so let's dig into the move-in information that was just reviewed in the video. So we have 2 main days of move-in for our new Terps. So that is Thursday, August 27th and Friday, August 28th. So when your student received their assignment and roommate information, they also received their arrival passport. And that's a critical piece of information because that passport lists their specific move-in date and time. If this time says 11 a.m. on Thursday, please don't plan to come in at 10 a.m. or 1 p.m. We truly want you to come at 11 a.m. Our move-in process is coordinated to account for construction, traffic, and the high volume of students moving into each individual building. More than 6,000 students will move in between these 2 days, which makes that move-in appointment time really critical. Should a student have a need to move in before their designated arrival date, they can request an early arrival through the housing portal. If you need to arrive early as part of a university group or organization, such as Mighty Sound of Maryland, Fresh Fest, Terp Welcome Crew, your group will help manage your early arrival. And please note that your arrival passport will update and reflect an earlier arrival once approved. The earliest Arrival date and time is Sunday, August 23rd at noon. So please note that all resident dining plans begin on Thursday, August 27th. Therefore, we encourage you to plan for your meals. We are conveniently located along Baltimore Avenue with multiple restaurants and near multiple grocery stores, including Lidl, Trader Joe's, and Whole Foods. All right, so next, it is important to plan on developing your move-in dream team. And this would ideally include your driver, your helper, and of course, the student. So the arrival passport includes information for which entrance to campus is optimal for your particular residence hall and how to navigate to your unloading zone. Follow the signs, and volunteers and the police who will be assisting to help you navigate to your residence hall unloading zone. Once you are in the unloading zone, the student should immediately get out of the vehicle and go inside to their service desk to check in and pick up the room key. At that point, the helper and the driver should work together to unload the entire vehicle curbside. We are looking for cars to unload within 10 minutes or less, and this is meant to manage the flow of traffic on campus and keep the check-in process as smooth as possible. So once everything is unloaded curbside, the helper will stay with those belongings, and the driver will then move the car to long-term parking and meet back with the rest of the team to move belongings from the curbside into the room. And please remember, we are working with a large influx of traffic and people coming to campus these 2 days, so please plan accordingly. All right, so now I'm going to turn it over to Dan for some move-in tips. Hey, Dan.
Hello, and thank you, Erin. That's a wonderful walkthrough of the move-in experience. Now it's my job to talk a little bit more about the additional reminders to help make the move-in process a little bit easier. Remember that this is the start of the college journey. Pack light. We like to say if you bring a U-Haul to campus, you're doing move-in wrong. Your student has plenty of time to add to their belongings in the room after they've gotten here and gotten settled. So whether you live nearby and have the ability to visit campus after the move-in process, or once your student is checked in and fully moved into their space, you can start to ship items from home or do online purchasing to have those items available for pickup at your service desk. So there are also plenty of shopping opportunities within the College Park area, so a lot of resources for you to tap into. Don't forget to check that list of approved versus not approved items. Kia was mentioning this a little bit earlier, but we actually have it on our website broken down into 3 different distinct categories. The one, what are those essentials? Bedding, clothes, toiletries, laundry supplies. That's the essential type of stuff you need to bring. You might have those items that you want to talk about with a roommate, those shared pieces like televisions, carpets, refrigerators that you may not need more than one. That would be beneficial to work out with that roommate prior to moving in. And of course, those not approved items, any of those fire and electrical safety related items, leave those at home. We have the full list on our website for you to be able to check out what to bring and what to keep at home. Now, let's be honest, move-in can be a lot. The combination of just the process of moving and starting a new experience can be overwhelming. But then for all of our families out there, it doesn't matter if this is your first child, your middle child, your final child going to college, it's an emotional experience. Never forget that we have a wonderful network of Resident Life staff and students who are here to support your students' experience with getting settled on campus and finding connections across this community. Just in the move-in process, we'll have our team out there, in addition to our Terp Welcome Crew student volunteers, faculty and staff volunteers, University of Maryland Police, and Department of Transportation Services, helping to direct traffic, greeting you curbside, and helping you have all the directions that you need to find how to move in and the resources within the campus community. There are the yellow and gray moving cards available within each of the communities. We don't exactly have one for every student at every hour of the move-in process. So it is a first come, first served basis. And you can kind of skip the line on trying to find one of those yellow or gray cards if you happen to have your own hand truck or dolly that you can bring with you and dive right into your move-in experience. Now, move-in is taking place here at the end of August. It's Maryland. It's still the summer. It's hot. It's humid. We want to make sure that we remind you to take care of yourselves through this process. stay hydrated, don't overexert yourself. Take a break in one of our lounges in the lobbies of the buildings to just kick up your feet for a moment, recoup, recover, and then jump back into the move-in experience. We do have water bottle fill stations throughout our buildings. So if you bring your own water bottle, you can fill back up as you go through the move-in process. Now, to talk just briefly about a couple of our rental options that we have here connected to move in. The first one to highlight is Breeze. They provide what's called a micro fridge, which is not a mini fridge. It's actually a microwave refrigerator combo. These micro fridges have been tested in all of our buildings, so they're approved for any of our spaces across the residence halls. It is one micro fridge rental per room. So if you do have 2 students, or if you're in a triple with 3 students, you can rent one micro fridge, and then the other students can bring their own mini fridges, and that is okay. But one micro fridge and mini fridge per additional student. We do have community spaces, our lounges and kitchens that do have microwaves, so it is not an essential thing that you have to have a microwave, but if you like the convenience of having one in your room, you do have to go through the micro fridge rental with Breeze to have one. The students assigned to the houses on the row are also eligible for the microfridge, just because we know we get questions about that as well. The other vendor to talk about briefly is Bedloft. Bedloft provides lofting kits that help to raise the bed to bunk bed level height, just to create more flexibility with how you might want to settle the furniture in the room as you're helping your student get settled into their space. It allows for a lot of under the bed storage or just different arrangements of the furniture so that you can make that space feel as comfortable as you'd like. You do have to put in the requests before the end of this upcoming weekend. The deadline is August 9th in order to be able to make the reservation of the bed loft and have it installed before your student moves in here at the end of the month. So you can go to bedloft.com to look up your student's building. There are some buildings that are not eligible for the bed loft option, so everything is already pre-populated onto the website if your student is approved to be able to get one of those rentals. We will have both Breeze and Bedloft on site throughout the move-in process. Breeze is going to have a mobile unit as they're just traveling around campus, helping with customer service related issues, and Bedloft will have tent locations on both sides of campus. So you finish the move-in process. What comes next? You're going to have that moment where you've settled the room. Maybe you've run out to grab some lunch. You have that moment start to well up in you that you're so proud of your student for making it to this moment. And you want to wish them the best experience they can possibly have, but it's time to let them spread their turtle wings and fly. We promise we've got them taken care of. And one of the first things that we do is we provide a whole series of events called Fall Welcome. 40 events over the course of 4 days that help students connect to the campus, connect to each other, learn about the resources that are here to support them, and help them really dive into that identity of being a Terp here at the university before the start of classes. Our Fall Welcome program serves all students, both our incoming new students, our transfer students, and our returning students. But just to highlight a few of the big events that are going to happen throughout the weekend, with that first day of move-in on Thursday, a lot of our living learning program students are coming in that day. So a number of those programs are going to have their own special welcome events taking place in the early evening between some of the Honors College programs, College Park Scholars, Carillon, and beyond. There will be additional events taking place throughout that evening for all students who are back on that Thursday, including a movie at the Hoff Theater, game night, and Ultimate Frisbee out on McKeldin Mall. On Friday, that's really when the schedule kicks into gear, because that's where we start off with our marquee event on Friday evening called Welcome to the Big Show. You can see our students cheering there in the image on the screen right now. Welcome to the Big Show serves as that inaugural welcome opportunity for students to get that official welcome to campus by our president, Dr. Daryl Pines, and VP for Student Affairs, Dr. Patty Perillo. The athletics program and representatives from our Residence Hall Association are going to be there. They're going to help get you connected to our band and our cheer team to learn about Maryland traditions. And then it all culminates in the class photo on the football field for the class of 2030. There are going to be additional events in the stamp that evening. And then that transitions into an entire remaining weekend full of activities throughout the day on both Saturday and Sunday. Saturday has our Free Fest event, which is literally a festival of free stuff. Students can learn about the campus resources that are here to support them throughout their journey here at the university. And then we're also going to be hosting late night Terp thing back in the Stamp Student Union, a bunch of different activities throughout each of the rooms of the Stamp. We'll have Cosmic Bowling down at the Terp Zone, and there's going to be a concert hosted by our student entertainment events group called Moonlit Music out in the amphitheater next to the Union. Sunday will be a choose your own adventure type experience with find your way tours, movies at the Hoff Theater, academic program welcomes. Our Recwell program is going to be doing a whole bunch of activities out at La Plata Beach and at the Epley Recreation Center, including the outdoor pool and the climbing wall. So there's going to be a ton for your student to jump into to get kickstart their time here at the University of Maryland. You can see the full schedule if you go to our website and go to the Fall Welcome page as you see the URL on the screen right now. So now let's jump into a little bit about this idea of building and connecting to the community here at the university. We've certainly been making reference to this a few times, and we really want to emphasize the intentionality that our resident life team has with regards to helping students connect and find their community on campus. It's not always easy to break out of one shell, but our resident assistants, community assistants, and other student and professional staff are here to support students 24/7 with the resources to get involved within and beyond the residence halls, as well as create events and gatherings that are focused on providing a multitude of different environments that, as we like to say, help you find your squad. Through our student experience surveys, we've identified that a vast majority of our resident students have felt supported by their RAs to feel that sense of belonging in the residence halls and start to build those connections here within the campus community. Some students may have the confidence to do this themselves, but it's clear that our RAs have an incredible impact on students finding new friendships. Our teams within the residential communities, along with some of our campus partners, have developed a series of events that we've labeled Find Your Squad. You can see the logo there on the bottom corner of the screen now. These are intentional experiences that provide a space for interpersonal connections, starting with block parties in each of our community areas. We're going to have some additional events that then lead into the rest of the fall semester, including karaoke at the dining hall. We're going to have bingo at one of our other dining halls, community bowling nights, and just a whole bunch of different types of activities to help students find community, build friendships that are going to help support an incredible experience here at the University of Maryland. Now, staying within the residence halls a little bit, I want to jump into talking about our Residence Hall Association. This is a perfect way for students to get involved right at the start of the year, right after they've moved in. Hall and Area Council elections are actually live right now, and they'll close at the end of the second week of classes. Your building's council provides the opportunity to support advocacy for the residential experience, as well as plan additional events and community building activities alongside and in addition to those that are provided by the resident assistants and resident directors. With regards to employment opportunities within our department, we have several different positions that students can explore. The resident assistant application will open up in early September after we start the semester, and representatives from our department will be out at a number of different events to promote this opportunity. But in addition to the RA position, we have a number of hourly positions that students can tap into throughout the year. Community assistants who work our service desks, office assistants and program assistants who help support a lot of the programming and administrative elements of our department. We have a number of different positions that are available at different times of the year and serve as ways to learn about office management, teamwork, and contributing to a strong residential community. Regardless of the position that you're interested in, students have the ability to look at our Join Our Team page on our website to learn more information about each of these positions and connect with the application processes as each one of them opens. Now, to expand from our residence halls and now look out to the greater campus community, I want to talk about some of the experiences that happen after the start of classes. The opportunities only expand once the semester officially begins. So after the first week of class, in that second week, we're going to host what's called the First Look Fair. This is an opportunity to connect with the over 800 student organizations and clubs that are available throughout the campus, as well as campus departments and programs that are looking for students for volunteer opportunities and employment opportunities. This blankets the McKeldin Mall in tables and activities and all sorts of things to help pull students into the various themes that all these organizations represent. Everything from sports and recreation to service learning, leadership development, campus employment, gaming, a cappella, and more. We'll be out there promoting the resident assistant position as well as other opportunities to get connected within the Department of Resident Life. One of the groups that'll be out there and that is integral to the student experience throughout the year is student entertainment events. This is an organization through the Stamp Student Union that puts on concerts and movies and special lectures and so much more throughout the year. You can certainly attend all of those events, but students also have the opportunity to jump in and be part of the planning teams that put those events together. Now, one of the special event series that takes place in the fall semester, essentially alongside the Find Your Squad experience, is what's called Terps After Dark. This is a community effort of departments across this campus that help to build out an event schedule on Thursdays, Fridays, and Saturdays over those first 2 months of the semester that help to create more of those opportunities to connect, engage over fun activities as students are starting this campus journey. And then finally, families, we don't want to forget about you and staying connected and involved with the campus. You are part of the Terrapin community. So I want to point out that we have Family Weekend taking place at the end of September and Homecoming taking place in mid-October as perfect opportunities to come back, see what your students up to, see how they've gotten connected, explore the campus a little bit yourselves, and get into the Maryland spirit as we get in deep into the football season and just into all of the fall celebratory activities. Now, just to say, students should never feel like there's nothing to do on campus. If they ever call you and say that they're bored, I promise they haven't left their rooms yet. If you need to, direct them to the TerpLink website. TerpLink is a site that highlights all the campus events that are happening that are being promoted by those over 800 student organizations. But it's also a chance to get connected to those organizations, look up their email addresses for how to get involved, and then make those connections so that students can find their niche here on campus. Now I'm going to turn it back over to Jasmine to wrap up with a couple of final elements and then move us into our Q&A.
Thank you so much, Dan and Kia and Aaron and Dennis, for all the information that you've shared and the warm welcome that you've provided. I really just want to say that we really, really encourage you to practice patience when it comes to move-in day. We know that there's going to probably be traffic, and it's a stressful day with packing everything. Did we miss something? And a lot of excitement over that day. So we really appreciate your patience and your understanding in advance. And I'm really hoping that the Maryland weather stays pretty good for those days. But as mentioned before, make sure that you pack a water bottle, you got sunscreen, right? Make sure that you're really planning in advance for what the day may bring. And also go with the flow. I would also recommend it's a really wonderful time and such a magical experience to see students and their families and their support squad engaging in this really, really incredible time. So, with that, we are going to take a couple more questions, see what has not been answered yet, and also take a look at some questions that received the most upvotes, because those seem like those are questions that we really, really want to get answered. But before we do that, I also want to stress that if you have any additional questions that come up after today, or as you and your student, or as a student are packing and getting prepared for move-in day, please feel free to visit our website. We've shared many links in the chat, but you are also welcome to visit our ResLife as shown on the sign here, reslife.umd.edu. We have so much great information on there about residence halls, on-campus living, a bunch of great things. But if you don't see it answered there, You are also more than welcome to contact our Res Life offices. We have our phone number 301-314-2100. We have a team ready to answer your calls 8:30 to 4:10 p.m. Monday through Friday, and of course by email. So please, please don't hesitate to ask those questions. We're more than happy to get you sorted with the right information. So we can take a look at some of the outstanding questions that we have here. I'm going to just take a look at the Q&A. Um, Let's look at some of the most upvoted. Are there hooks inside each shower stall where students can hang their shower tote? This was something that was really upvoted. Yes, there are hooks available in the showers, but we of course really encourage you to perhaps bring some sort of caddy in which you can hold all of that material for taking showers, making sure that you have all that you need when you go. Another voted question here. Do we go to Stamp Student Union for move-in day to get keys? Each student received their arrival passport, and that really is your go-to resource during move-in day because that will outline specifically where your res hall is, what your room number is, and it will provide you with directions on where to go to check in. So really, I encourage you to make sure that you are reviewing that really the days before move-in day to make sure that you have all that information ready to roll. And it will also display where your driver needs to go for long-term parking. And it will also have a map with directions to guide you to that long-term parking space so that we can hopefully make it as easy as possible. So yes, if you have any questions about your particular move-in time, day, where to go, really consult that arrival passport that is available for every student in their housing portal. So really encourage you to use that resource as well. Another big question that we usually get is, do we have to pay for laundry? Do we have to bring some coins? How does that work? So laundry is provided as part of the housing fees, so there are no additional fees when you go to do your laundry. I will also share a link again in the chat on where you can find your specific laundry facility for your specific hall, because I know that students might ask, where do I go to do that? I will put it in the chat for you all as a resource as well. And another question that we have asked is, how long can we be helping our student unpack and get their room set up? It really is up to you and your student. I would really encourage you to take your students' guidance on how long they would like you to be with them, right? Because we do have some incredible programming. Dan outlined some of the fall welcome activities that are going to be happening later in the evening of each day of move-in. So we really, really want to get our students and our residents really getting to meet other students, getting to get those opportunities to engage really in the community. So we really encourage you to kind of take their hint if they're like, okay, we kind of want to chat with our roommate now or go to some of the events with some of the other students that they just met. So really kind of heeding their guidance for that, I think is a pretty good tip. Let's see some other questions. And Meredith, I don't know if we're getting any via YouTube, but please feel free to ask any if we are.
We're good.
Go ahead. Oh, we're good. I think she said. Okay.
Sorry. Yes, we're good. Yes, we don't have it.
That's okay.
Sorry. Yeah, go for it.
Yeah. Do we have any advice to help students prepare for move-in as an out-of-state student? Like what to bring? What should I wait to buy? I know, Erin, that you are actively writing this answer, so I'll just start us off and please let me know if there's anything additional that you think I might have forgotten. Something that I will stress, again, that Dan mentioned, is that we really encourage you to pack light, right? Especially if you're someone that's coming out of state. Really take the opportunity to prune through your luggage, see what you're bringing. Is this something that I'm going to use immediately upon arrival, or am I packing winter clothes? If you're unfamiliar with Maryland weather, we generally have pretty warm weather through the first couple weeks and certainly the first couple months. So we definitely encourage you to maybe think about waiting about bringing those winter heavy items before on move-in day. And what we also really want to stress for folks who might be coming from out of state is that you are unable to ship in advance any items. So our residence halls service desks are going to be up and running in time for move-in day, but we are not really set up to be able to accept packages that come before you move in. So please note that you should not be sending or shipping anything via Amazon until after you arrive, until after you check in. So those are two pretty good tips. Erin, I don't know if there's anything else that you'd suggest for our out-of-state students, but if so, please let me know. We can also look through some of the other questions. Sorry, y'all. I'm just reading through all of the questions and seeing if there's anything that was also particularly upvoted. How high up off the ground are the standard beds? I know that folks really like to think a lot about storage, right? How can we maximize the space that we have? The space off of the ground is about 12 inches from the floor. Of course, you can also consider getting bed risers if that's something that you want to get to maximize space. Dan, I don't know if you want to share the quick tip on how students should consider bed risers and space under the bed.
Sure. The number that I use is 126. So 1 foot of space normally of clearance underneath the bed if you do nothing and just leave the bed as it is during move-in. 2 feet of space if you add a 1 foot bed riser to the bed ends. And then it's 6 feet that the bed is raised to if you go with the bed loft rental option.
Great, thank you. I know that that's always a question is how can we maximize space? So yeah, if you're interested in really taking advantage of the space under your bed, floor bed risers might be something that you consider. Additionally, also lofting your bed could also be a good opportunity for you if you're really thinking that you're going to have some stuff to store. Let's see if there's any other questions or if anyone else has some other tips, reminders, pieces of information that we really want to stress before we close out. Please feel free to share.
Oh, and I'll just mention because I see the question in the Q&A. Bed risers would be a purchase that you would make. We don't have them available at the service desks. So that would be a purchase. The bed loft would be a rental through bedloft.com.
Yes, thank you, Dan. And we also included in the chat a website or a link to our before move-in website that has all of our vendor information. So if you're also interested in a micro fridge, you can find information about that there as well. We can answer some of the questions that are open. Is bed left available on move-in day, or is it something that you should pre-reserve? Dan, I think that you mentioned that we are going to have our vendor partner on campus. Can you remind us of the areas in which they'll be?
Yeah, so one thing to say first is if you want the bed loft installed before your student moves in, you do need to make that reservation here within the next few days. The priority deadline is this upcoming Sunday. If the order is placed after this Sunday, there's a chance that they may not be able to install it before move-in, and instead will have to set an appointment with your student to come back to the room to install the bed loft later. The bed loft company will be on site at 2 locations. On South Campus, it'll be near the North Hill community, just off of Prinkert Drive. It'll be a little bit up the street from Prince Frederick, Carroll, Carolina, Wacomico. And then the other location will be on North Campus, closer to the Epley Recreation Center, I believe. Unless, actually, I take that back. I think it's over between Hagerstown and Elkton. I believe that's where they're setting up this year.
Thank you, Dan. And there are two more questions that I'll answer live. Is there a certain number of family members that can come in to move-in day? We know that this is an incredibly exciting time and experience, and you probably want to share that with a bunch of your family or friends or support squad. I do just while we do not have a limit on how many folks can come, I would just urge you to just be mindful that you're going to be amongst a lot of people who are moving in on campus. So it might be a better idea to just limit it to the folks who are absolute essentials for you and moving things, but also sharing that experience with you. Because again, we're going to be having folks who are going and taking elevators and going up and down stairwells and in the hallways, moving items in, right? It's a pretty high traffic event. So I would just really encourage you to maybe make sure that the essential folks are there, and maybe you can share photos or FaceTime people so that they can join in on the experience that way. And another question that we have is where can I find measurements for standard room items like the width of my desk? I will share in our chat here that our partners over at Residential Facilities has dimensions for furniture that are in rooms, as in addition to dimensions for the rooms themselves. So you can visit the website that I will plug into the chat for more information about that. I can do that now. We do want to share that if you are thinking about, right, how can I orient my space to maximize it and perhaps bring in other pieces of furniture, we just really caution you to talk with your roommate, right? Together, you guys can plan, do we need to bring a floor lamp or a rug or an additional piece of furniture, right? That should be something that you can collaborate with your roommate on just to make sure that the room really fits for both of you. So those are resources that you can check out. Let me see some ongoing ones.
Since I talked about the one vendor, I'll jump back in with Breeze and the micro fridge. Breeze has kind of a similar situation to Bedloft. So they're going to be delivering those micro fridges to campus the week before move-in. So you would need to get that rental request in as soon as possible to ensure that it's delivered to campus before your student gets here. If you wait until your student is moved in, they will still take new orders and then set up an appointment to be able to bring the fridge to your student's room.
Thank you, Dan. We also had someone share some advice to share with other folks, which I think this is a pretty good one. Reminding folks to walk to their classes before the first day of classes, I think is a really, really great idea. And it could be a pretty great experience to bond with your roommate. Perhaps you and your roommates go on campus and try to find your classes before the first day. It's a really, really great and smart activity. And also getting a lay of the land in terms of the dining halls on campus. Once you move in, it's really your campus to explore and to engage in. And I'll also share that RRAs in particular are pretty good resources for how to get to the best route to get to your particular halls for classes and how to get to stamp in the quickest way, all that good stuff. You can really lean on your RAs and even your community assistants as well to get that information.
And I'll just jump in real quick to mention that we do have Find Your Way tours are built into our fall welcome schedule. On the Sunday of fall welcome at 11 o'clock, students can come over to the Stamp Student Union to the atrium, and we'll have student tour guides who will break the larger group into smaller academic groups to be able to take students out on a tour to get a sense of the direction of where their classes are located.
Thank you, Dan. We think of everything around here. So I appreciate you highlighting that. And again, I know that it can be a little nerve-wracking, right? Where am I going to go for my first day of classes? But we've got you covered. And you can also always check out a view of our campus map online. So that could also be a helpful resource. But again, I'd really encourage you to attend that event and lean on your RAs and our other community staff that are more than welcome to help. And they're pros at it too. So they probably got some good tips to share as well. Meredith, I also want to be mindful that we're running after 8 o'clock. So I'll encourage folks to share any last questions that you have. Our team here will stick around to answer those. We want to make sure that we get all these questions answered. But I will also share that a recording of this webinar will be shared at our YouTube channel. And a copy of it will also be shared with students. So be on the lookout for your emails in the following week for a recording of this. And along with that, on our YouTube channel in the description for this video recording, we will also share the Q&A, a spreadsheet of the questions and the responses that we provided. So if you forget what our response was, you can absolutely go back in there and check it out, or just gander and review some of the other questions that other folks have asked.
Jasmine, and thinking about time, I do want to have us close up here pretty fast. We will stay on for these final questions that are getting in the chat in the Q&A here. So we will definitely stay on for those. The last reminder I will say is, as Jasmine shared, this information will be on the Resident Life YouTube channel, and our students will get an email of this with lots of move-in information and a link to this video. It will also be on the Terp Family YouTube channel. And those of you who registered for this will get an email from Family Engagement as well. So you'll get information this way. Any final words, Resident Life team? I think we're good. Well, thank you all. Like I said, we'll stay on for these final questions, and we hope you all have a good evening. Take care.